Hey, we're getting closer to the holiday season. What way to kick it off better than with a disaster film? Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. Today, we're getting closer and closer to Thanksgiving, which we all tend to spend a lot of time with our family. And what better way to kick off the holiday season with a disaster film? So yes, today, this review comes to you by request from Carson. Carson, here is your review you've been asking for Armageddon. But before we get into this, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Join me here, I would appreciate that. Armageddon dropped on July 1st of 1998. It's PG-13, it's 2 hours and 31 minutes long, had a budget of $140 million, and upon release that summer, it made $201 in America and $553 worldwide. Now, when this was released, by the time it was done its box office run, this was the most successful or highest grossing live action picture that Walt Disney Pictures ever released. Now, this was released through their Touchstone banner, but it's Disney-owned Touchstone and Hollywood Studios, so it was all Walt Disney, just different. They tend to release their more adult fare through those arms back in the day. Now they own Fox as well, but that's neither here nor there. Now, this was directed by Michael Bay. He was reteaming with his producer, Jerry Bruckheimer. They just worked on Bad Boys, which is a success, and The Rock, which was a major hit in '96, and this was Michael Bay's next film. They would go on to do Pearl Harbor next after this. Now, this film has a stacked cast of great actors. We got Bruce Willis as Harry Stamper. He is the owner of this oil company, and we meet him at the beginning of the film on his oil rig drilling for oil. Ben Affleck plays AJ. He works for Harry, and he's also seen his daughter behind his back. His daughter is played by Liv Tyler. Her name is Grace in the film. We got Billy Bob Thornton as Truman. He works for NASA. We got Will Patton as Chick, and he is Harry's right-hand man on the oil platform. We also got Steve Buscemi as Rockhound. We got William Finchner in this film. We got Michael Clark Duncan, Owen Wilson, Peter Stollmeyer, Keith David, and a ton of other character actors you would recognize. It's a stacked cast, and they all do pretty damn good here, given the material we are working with here. Now, they set up right in the beginning that this big-ass asteroid is headed towards Earth, and some impacts from smaller asteroids hit the Earth and cause significant damage. And the big one is discovered by this guy that lives out of his trailer, and he's at this telescope, and he sees the asteroid. He calls it into NASA, and they realize we got a goddamn big problem, because in not so much time, this thing's going to hit the Earth, and it's going to wipe out all living life forms because it's the size of Texas. We're introduced to Harry and his team. They're out in the ocean on his oil platform, drilling for oil. We get some inner drama because Harry doesn't want his daughter dating a driller. And he finds out that her and AJ have a thing going on, so he chases AJ with a shotgun in a pretty amusing scene, although highly unlikely you would do what he's doing on this platform, but it's entertaining nonetheless. And there's jokes left and right. You got Steve Buscemi showing up and Michael Clark Duncan saying one-liners, so it's all good. They're all very likable here. And Harry gets approached by NASA and Billy Bob Thornton's character about going into outer space to drill this hole to drop a nuke in the asteroid to split it in half so it misses the Earth and saves everybody on the planet. And that is pretty much the main plot point of this film, this disaster film, is they go to NASA, they train, they all decide to go. They go into outer space, they drill the hole, they drop the nuke in it, and Harry sacrifices himself because the remote detonator gets damaged during one of these storms on the asteroid, and he detonates it himself, sacrifices himself for the greater good of mankind, and that is the end of Armageddon, with Grace and AJ getting married. And that is Armageddon from 1998. What to like about this film? Well, I think if you watch it now, the effects hold up pretty well. Not all the effects, but this was pretty groundbreaking stuff for at the time, and a lot of the effects still hold up to this day. I like the cast here. They all work really well together. I like the comedy here. I mean, Michael Bay's comedy in some of his films are always hit or miss for some people. In this one, it works for me. The love story is kind of cheesy with the animal crackers, laying by that shack in the field. Michael Bay was never the greatest with the romantic side of it, but the action he helms really well. It's exciting stuff. It's well done. I mean, it's a lot of quick cutting stuff, but it really holds up. It's a pretty exciting movie for a disaster flick. Now, is this a highbrow movie? Of course it's not. This is a summer blockbuster popcorn flick. This is the reason why we go to the movies in the summer. And this movie is no different. It has everything you want out of a summer blockbuster. It has lots of special effects, lots of action, a lot of shit blowing up left and right. We got characters that we like, and we get that touching ending, and yes, even pulls at my heartstrings, Bruce Willis sacrificing himself, even though he told his daughter he was coming home to save the Earth from this devastation that was going to befall upon the Earth if he wouldn't push the button. And honestly, at the end of the day, I've always enjoyed this film. Is it the greatest film ever? No, it's just a highly enjoyable, high adrenaline disaster flick. I mean, this is before, I mean, we've always had disaster flicks, especially in the 70s with Earthquake, Towering Inferno, The Poseidon Adventure. And then Roland Emmerich really went nuts with it in the 2000s after he did The Patriot. I mean, he started off with Independence Day, and then after The Patriot, Day After Tomorrow, 2012, and then this last one, Moonfall, which I haven't seen yet, but I heard it's pretty shitty, although eventually I'll see it because I can't help myself. But this is before we really kicked into the Roland Emmerich, let's keep making the disaster flicks series of movies. But so this was pretty, you know, although we had competing asteroid films with Deep Impact, but Armageddon beat it to the tooth and made more money. Although if you compare cast too, this had the bigger cast. Deep Impact had Morgan Freeman, but this had the bigger cast, let's be honest here. NASA actually allowed Bay and Company to film in places that were restricted for anybody else before this, but they had such a good working relationship with Michael Bay on The Rock, some of the military and the government, that they allowed them to shoot actually at NASA and in some restricted spaces. Bruce Willis is famous for saying he did not like working with Michael Bay and that he would never work with him again after this, and he held true to that because he never did work with him after this. But I think Bruce Willis is good here. This was at the height of his stardom. He was still a huge star at the time. This is before Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, but Bruce Willis was still one of our biggest stars in the world at the time, and he's great here. We love Bruce Willis, and this is no different in his performance here. The shuttle launches were filmed for real on the launching pad at NASA. I already said the time. This is Walt Disney Pictures' highest grossing film, live action film of all time. And the movie was actually all shot and done in 16 weeks, which Michael Bay regrets. He said if he could go back, he would reshoot the last third of the film. He's not even happy with it because it was a rush production. They wanted it out by July 1st, and they had 16 weeks to do it all, which if you think about the scope of this film, that is freaking insane that they got that amount of work and effects work done in 16 weeks. That's crazy town. But that's, you know, when you have a release date before you actually have a picture done, I mean, I know they do it all the time, but that's a tough spot to be in. But they pull it off. It's an entertaining, high adrenaline film. It's a very enjoyable watch. There's characters that you enjoy here. The cast is great. And that's what helps the film, really, the whole cast. I mean, you got a great cast across the board of really good actors here. And they're all doing well with the material. I mean, this isn't Oscar-worthy shit, but they do well with it as these regular, you know, blue-collar guys that have to go into outer space and try to save the world. And they pull it off. I mean, there's cheesy shit and all that stuff, as you would expect from a Michael Bay film. And this is probably where a lot of it started, because The Rock was a more serious film, even though there was some cheeseball stuff in that. There's definitely more cheeseball stuff in this, but it's a highly entertaining disaster film, and I've always enjoyed it. At the end of the day, I would give Armageddon a 7.75 out of 10. It's not perfect. It's not my favorite Michael Bay film. That would be reserved for The Rock. It's not even my second favorite Michael Bay film, but I think this is a damn fine disaster flick, and it's a good time at the movies. So yeah, 7.75 out of 10 for Armageddon. What are your thoughts on Armageddon? Leave a comment down below. Let me know. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe button, share this video. I greatly would appreciate that. I'll be back soon with some more reviews, but until then, bye.